My roommate told me she was moving out because I was too boring. She laughed when I didn't react. This morning, her phone blew up with 47 missed calls. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. The signs were scattered like breadcrumbs through the last few months of living together. But when you've shared an apartment with someone for 2 years, you tend to give them the benefit of the doubt. At least that's what I kept telling myself. It started with small things. Emma began bringing guys over more often, which wasn't unusual for her. But then came the whispered phone calls at 2 a.m. Conversations that stopped abruptly when I walked into the kitchen. Her laptop screen quickly minimized whenever I passed by the couch. I'm not the nosy type, never have been. But something felt off about the way she'd watch me when she thought I wasn't looking. The way she'd ask seemingly innocent questions about my schedule. When I worked late, when I'd be out of town for family visits. Last Tuesday, I was doing dishes when her phone rang. She grabbed it quickly, but not before I saw the contact name. My boss, Sarah. That was weird because Emma worked at a marketing agency. She'd never mentioned knowing anyone named Sarah who was her boss. When I asked about it later, she laughed it off. Said she had multiple projects and clients. The explanation sounded reasonable enough. Emma had always been the social butterfly in our living arrangement. Always going out, always meeting new people, always had interesting stories to tell. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one who preferred staying in with a book or binge-watching Netflix shows. We balanced each other out perfectly. Or so I thought until last Friday when everything changed. I came home from work to find Emma in the living room with her laptop out. She looked up at me with this strange expression, half excited, half nervous, like she was about to deliver news that would change everything. "We need to talk," she said, closing her laptop with a deliberate snap. "I've been thinking a lot about our living situation lately." My stomach dropped because conversations that start like that never end well. I sat down across from her, trying to read her expression. "I'm moving out at the end of the month," she announced. "I've found a better place with more interesting roommates who actually do things." The words hit me like a slap, not because I was devastated, but because of how casually cruel they sounded coming from her mouth. "You're just too boring for me," she continued with a small laugh. "All you do is work and read and watch TV shows about murder. I need to live with people who have actual personalities, people who go out and have adventures instead of living like hermits." I sat there processing her words. 2 years of splitting bills, watching movies together, and sharing takeout containers. Was that really how she saw me? Through the shock, I felt something else rising. Not anger, but a strange sense of clarity about who Emma really was underneath her friendly exterior. "Does Madison know?" I asked, thinking of our mutual friend who'd helped us find this apartment together in the first place. "Oh, she's known for weeks," Emma replied. "Most of our friend group knows, actually. They all agree you're sweet, but you don't really add anything to social situations." That hit harder than the moving out announcement. These people we'd hung out with countless times. They'd all been discussing my personality behind my back. I pulled out my phone and texted Madison directly. "Is this true? You all think I'm boring," and talked about Emma moving out without telling me. Madison's response came quickly. "We didn't want to hurt your feelings, but Emma needs roommates who match her energy. You're great, but maybe this is for the best." I looked up from my phone to find Emma watching me with that same excited expression, like she was waiting for me to break down or beg her to stay. Instead, I smiled, a real genuine smile that seemed to catch her completely off guard and confuse her. Without a word, I stood up, walked to my bedroom, and started packing a bag. When I came back through the living room, Emma was staring. "Where are you going?" she demanded, clearly thrown off by my calm reaction to her dramatic announcement. "Out," I replied simply. "Since I'm so boring, I figure you won't miss having me around to cramp your style tonight." I heard her start to say something as I headed for the door, but I didn't stop to listen. My phone was already buzzing with messages, probably from our friend group trying to explain themselves. As I drove away, I turned my phone off and felt something unexpected: relief. Sometimes losing everything shows you exactly what you never had in the first place. I had no idea where I was going, but I felt free. Update first, thanks for all the support on my last post. Never expected it to blow up like that. A lot has happened in the past week. I've been staying at my cousin Jake's place across town. He's got a spare room and didn't ask too many questions when I showed up with a suitcase. Turned my phone back on after 3 days of peace and quiet. 47 missed calls, 73 text messages. Most from Emma, some from Madison and our friend group. But what really caught my attention were the notifications from social media. Emma had been busy painting a very different picture of our conversation. According to her Instagram stories, I was a controlling roommate who monitored her every move. Someone who made her feel unsafe in her own home. Each post had dozens of supportive comments from people I thought were mutual friends. The comments were brutal and completely one-sided. The crown jewel was a tearful video where she claimed I'd been stealing her food and personal items for months. Rich considering she constantly ate my groceries. Then came the text from my coworker Lisa. "Hey, you might want to check your email. Someone's been calling your office asking questions about you." Sure enough, there was a voicemail from my supervisor asking me to call back urgently. Emma had contacted my workplace with concerns about my mental health. She'd told them I was unstable and potentially dangerous, that she was afraid for her safety and thought my employer should know about my behavior. I should have been angry. Maybe I should have fought back, posted my side of the story. Instead, I felt curious about how far she'd take this. Pretty far, as it turns out. Yesterday, I stopped by our apartment to get more clothes. The locks had been changed without notice to me. Emma opened the door with her phone already recording. She loudly announced that I was trespassing and harassing her despite having items inside. But here's where it gets interesting. While I was standing in the hallway confused, my neighbor Mrs. Chen approached me looking concerned. "You need to be careful," she whispered. "That girl's been telling everyone in the building you're dangerous. But I've been watching and something's not right. She's had different men over every night since you left. They're loud and disruptive. And yesterday I saw her going through your mail." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. Mrs. Chen looked around nervously before answering. "Because this isn't the first time. The girl who lived in your room before you? Emma did the same thing to her, made up stories until she moved out. That conversation changed everything. I spent the night researching Emma's previous living situations, social media posts, old apartment listings, anything I could find. Turns out there was a pattern. Emma had lived with at least 4 different roommates in 3 years. Each situation ended with drama and accusations. This morning I got a message request on Instagram from an account I didn't recognize. The profile showed a girl around my age with kind eyes. The message was simple. I saw your roommate's posts about you. I used to live with Emma too. We need to talk about what she does to people. I'm meeting Sarah this afternoon. Something tells me Emma's victim story is about to get a lot more complicated. The funny thing is watching Emma spin this elaborate web of lies. Seeing our friends choose sides based on nothing but her word. It's actually liberating. Every fake tear, every manipulated story just confirms what I already knew. I'm not losing anything worth keeping. Update 2, sorry for the delayed update. That coffee meeting with Sarah was a complete game changer. Turns out she'd been Emma's roommate 2 years ago. The pattern was exactly the same. Emma would start friendly and helpful, then gradually become more controlling and manipulative toward the end. Sarah had documentation of everything. Screenshots of Emma's social media posts from back then. The same victim narrative with different details. But Sarah had something else. Evidence that Emma was running some kind of long-term scam on her roommates and their social circles. Remember how Emma always seemed to have money for expensive clothes and nights out, despite working at a marketing agency? Turns out that job was part-time. Her real income came from a different source. She was essentially catfishing lonely guys online and getting them to send her money and gifts. But that's not the twisted part. Emma was using her roommates' personal information and stories to create more believable personas for her online relationships. She'd steal details about our lives, our families, our jobs to make her fake profiles seem more authentic and trustworthy to her victims. That's why she was always so interested in my schedule and personal details. She was mining my life for content to use in her elaborate deception schemes. Sarah showed me printouts of conversations where Emma had used details about my job, my family, and even my hobbies to catfish multiple men simultaneously. The guys thought they were talking to a sweet, quiet girl who worked in tech and loved reading. They were actually talking to Emma using my personality. That's when I realized Emma's pattern with roommates. She'd befriend someone, collect their personal information for months, then destroy their reputation when she was done. She needed us to move out before we discovered what she was really doing. The victim narrative was just her way of controlling the story. Sarah and I decided to gather more evidence before confronting Emma. We reached out to other former roommates and found 3 more girls with similar experiences. All of them had been painted as the villain when they moved out. All of them had noticed their personal information being used in ways they couldn't explain. We created a group chat and started comparing notes. The evidence was overwhelming. Emma was a serial manipulator who targeted young professional women, but we needed proof that would actually matter. That's when Sarah suggested we contact the men Emma had been scamming with our stolen identities. It took some detective work, but we managed to track down several of Emma's online victims. The conversations were heartbreaking and infuriating. These guys had sent thousands of dollars to who they thought was me. One man had even driven across 3 states to meet the girl from my stolen photos. Emma had been using my pictures from social media to create fake dating profiles. She'd been pretending to be me while taking money from lonely, desperate men. The evidence was overwhelming. Identity theft, fraud, catfishing. Emma had committed multiple felonies using information she'd stolen from her roommates. We took everything to the police last week. Emma was arrested yesterday morning while trying to board a flight to another state with a suitcase full of cash. Turns out she'd been planning to disappear with all the money she'd scammed. Start over in a new city with new victims and new roommates to exploit. The detective told us Emma's been doing this for at least 5 years, moving from city to city targeting young women who seemed naive and trusting. My former friend group who'd been so quick to believe Emma's lies about me. They couldn't look me in the eye when the news broke about her arrest. Madison tried to apologize yesterday, sent this long message about how she should have been a better friend and how she never suspected Emma was dangerous. I just replied with a screenshot of her old messages supporting Emma's version of events. Sometimes screenshots speak louder than apologies ever could. Emma's facing federal charges for wire fraud and identity theft. Her lawyer's trying to plead it down, but with 5 victims and clear evidence, it's not looking good. The best part is all the money she stole is being returned to her victims, and my credit report is being cleared of any fraudulent activity. Me, I'm living in a studio apartment downtown now. No roommates, no drama, just peace and quiet, exactly the way I like it. Got a promotion at work after my supervisor learned about Emma's false reports. Turns out standing up to criminals impresses management. The whole experience taught me something valuable. Sometimes the person calling you boring is really just threatened by your authenticity and stability. Emma needed chaos and drama to fuel her criminal lifestyle. My quiet, normal existence was actually the opposite of boring to her. It was intimidating. This will be my last update about Emma. Thanks for following along Reddit. Remember, trust your instincts when something feels off about people. And never let anyone make you feel bad for being exactly who you are. Sometimes boring is just another word for having your life together.